Well, hello everybody, John here. This is the Midnight Paint and Body channel. Hey, this week, what we're going to be doing is rockers, cab corners, and front fenders on a 2006 Dodge Mega Cab truck. So yes, I'm back, guys. I know my videos are going to be a little sporadic for a bit. I did just get back from my 2 weeks off, which I tell you, it's been a long time since I've taken 2 weeks off. So yeah, my first week, I competed in the BC Drag It Challenge once again. I did a video of that last year. Took the old gold Trans Am again. Didn't make a video of it this year, guys, because yeah, it's just not auto body stuff. So if you're interested in checking any of that out, go to the BC Drag It Challenge YouTube channel. They got a lot of great videos of the races and a bunch of the tomfoolery we got involved in. So there was that, and then my second week off. I don't know if you're familiar with the Rust Valley Restorers TV show. My second week off, I was actually down there working in their shop. A buddy of mine works there, so I was just hanging out, helping them with the cars. So I will have some YouTube content coming out from that, and also Rust Bros official YouTube channel. They were filming the whole time I was there, so we'll see what comes of that as well. It was a blast being down there. So hung out with Blair and Mike and Cassidy. So, but yeah, I am back. I am ready to get back to work as usual. Another rusty Dodge. Not much new there. But this one is a Mega Cab. I don't think we've done one of those on the channel yet. So, again, not a complete paint job. Now, we are doing front fenders. They are rotten underneath those flares. And then, of course, rockers and cab corners that they pretty much all need. We'll probably see a little better back here. So, yeah, you can see we're not much left down there. I mean, it's definitely not as bad as some of them, but good to catch these before they get really, really bad. So I'll show you what we have for parts. And of course, this is the Mega Cab, so it's got the large cab corner, and these have the full-size rear door. Now, I tend to get myself mixed up on these Dodge trucks because well, the extended cab trucks just have a smaller rear door than the regular cab corner. So I'll show you what we have for parts for this one. So now, of course, new front fenders. I won't bother digging out the part numbers on those. Those are easy to find if you need fenders. Our cab corners. So of course, the Mega Cab ones. These are actually some I had in stock, so I didn't have to order these in. RRP 1657 and an RRP 1656. Now, I get the same questions all the time on these parts, guys. You should be able to get these at any auto parts store. They should all be able to order that stuff in for you. Obviously, they're not going to keep the stuff in stock, but it shouldn't be tough to get. Now, our rocker panels. So we're going with these full OE style rocker panels. RRP 1592. This one will be an RRP 1591. But because this is the Mega Cab truck, we will also be using these rocker extensions. RRP 3180. And this should be RRP 3179. So now, these rockers are meant for, so in this case, these would be for an extended cab, so these have the short rear door opening, but we will be cutting somewhere around there and adding these extensions. So you can kind of see how that's going to work. But we'll deal with that once we get to it. So, as with all of these jobs, I am going to start with just getting the box off the truck, so I won't bother recording a bunch of that. It is already halfway through the day, so I don't know how much I'll get done today, but yeah, I'm going to just start stripping this thing down, and I will bring you guys back for the parts that are more important. Just going to point out here, guys, you saw me just start drilling out these spot welds. Now, I always mention, if you don't watch my videos, the way I do these, a big drill bit, and I drill basically halfway through. You don't want to drill right through the panel, because we're going to be welding our new panel to that back panel. Now, everyone has their own way of doing these. This is my preferred way. Spot weld cutters suck. A big drill bit works better. Guys will always tell me how much faster a belt sander is. I don't find them any faster. You know, I just spent 5 minutes drilling all those out. As long as your bit's sharp. I have a cheap drill bit sharpener. I could do 100 trucks with this one drill bit. Where those belts for the belt sanders are really expensive. If you're working in a shop where you're just going to the supply closet and grabbing everything you need, that's one thing. But when you're doing this work for yourself, you really have to be conscious of material costs, because man, this stuff is expensive. So I just try and keep costs down where I can. This is what works best for me. You know, everyone has their own way. I mean, if I had unlimited access to, you know, expensive Cubitron belts for my belt sander, I would probably use the belt sander for this, but, you know, this works. Most average guys are going to have this and not a belt sander. So, just for what it's worth, I just thought I'd let you guys know why I do it the way that I do. So, I've got those trimmed out. I'm just going to take a zip cut and cut some of this metal away, and we're just going to start peeling this front piece of the rocker off here in a minute. And something else I should mention too, before you go taking your zip cut and just cut, and remember there are other panels in behind this, so you only want to cut through your exterior panel. There's a lot of other support panels and stuff inside on these, so just be careful where you're cutting. And as always, you never know, depending what you're working on, there could be wiring, there could be, you know, all kinds of things in there. So, and insulation, stuff like that, be conscious of it, because it can catch on fire from the sparks. And here's the part I always show you guys. So even when the rockers still look okay on the outside, like this truck, they weren't terrible. They're definitely rusted through at the back. But, you know, a guy could have maybe got away with just doing a cab corner and that extension piece. But then you've still got all this up here, and this is all, you know, very, very close to bursting through. In fact, it probably is through in places. But it looks like our inner rockers are super nice and solid on this truck. Quite a bit of scale on the centerpiece, but we'll clean all this up before new rockers go over top. So I'm gonna keep trimming this stuff off, and then I'll bring you guys back in a bit. A little more dissection here. I just kind of figured I'd bring you guys along a bit. So as you can see, the back part of our rocker, it's always a lot worse, but you know, you can see how rusty these are inside. Everything runs to the back. That's pretty typical. All the dirt and moisture runs to the back. Back always rusts out the worst. And of course our cab corner, I pretty much just cut the top and ripped it off of there. You know, it didn't look terrible, but yeah, I didn't even have to cut that. I just tore it off. And then here's what I was talking about with insulation. This is the kind of stuff you really have to watch for. Now these have like a plastic filler piece in here, basically to keep the dust and everything from going up to where it can access the cab. I mean, you've got your interior panels and stuff too, but it's just a blocker, sound deadener, dust and moisture stopper. So it's a plastic piece, and then it's all coated with foam, so you can see how thick it is. So we're gonna have to get this right out of there. I typically just take the stuff right out and leave it out because there's not much you can do about putting it back in. So you can see they kind of fit. The plastic is just on the little push-in plugs, and then they foam these, I guess, probably after the truck is welded together. So a little more trimming, we're getting close, and we'll start cleaning up this inner rocker and get ready to coat it and kind of protect it before anything goes over top. So moved ahead a little bit here, guys. So got the inners all just painted with some rust preventative paint, and then all our welding surfaces are coated in weld through primer. So I have cut the back of this rocker panel off, so this is the piece we don't need for the small door opening, and then we'll be adding obviously the extension for the big door opening. So I have got this piece roughly clamped in place. So I've got it tight against all the seams. So I need to take it back off and punch a bunch of holes for plug welding around the perimeter. But first, I've got this overlapped just a little bit on the old metal. So I'm going to take a zip cut and I'm going to trim these bits out here and there so that I will be butt matching this panel right up to the old panel without any overlapped metal. So that's going to get us our most precise fit. So a little bit more trimming here, and we'll be yeah, pretty close to tacking this one in place. And so here we are, pretty much fitted up for this section of the rocker. So you can see I've cut it so where we're going to be butt welding, just metal to metal without overlap. These panels don't really fit as nice as the GM ones do, I'm noticing. There's a couple little spots. It's not a big deal. As I'm welding and I have some heat, I can kind of hammer this stuff into place, or maybe put a little relief cut there, get that all into the right shape. But Nothing that's too major. Notice we don't fit very nice here, so I'm gonna have to do a bit of a relief there and move that piece back. But that is all minor, small stuff. So I'm just gonna go ahead now. I'm gonna put a couple of tack welds on this guy. Not gonna weld this piece solid yet. I'll probably just put a couple of welds here, and a couple on the bottom, and then we'll start fitting that back piece. So let's move on to our extension piece here. I'll put the camera where you guys can see. So this is just more of the same. So I'm basically gonna find where home is for this guy. Now I've got this overlapping because I just kind of rough cut this piece, but I will clamp this in place, get it where I'm happy, and then I'll mark this, and I will cut that little piece out of there. So again, I'll be butt welding edge to edge here, and then up in here. I'm not going to go all the way up this piece. I'm actually going to trim this piece down a little bit, and it'll be the same thing there. I will trim it until I've got a nice butt match, and I will get this guy tacked in place. So yeah, not a lot to that, so I'm just going to move ahead with fitting this one, and then hopefully before the end of the day we'll have this and even the cab corner tacked in place. Here is the extension piece. I've just punched some holes around the perimeter. The same idea as the other one. I've trimmed the metal back here and here. So now this guy, if I can do it one-handed, well, you can see it's going to fit nicely there. Nice butt match. I can get that right into place there, and then the same there. So it's not perfect because I'm trying to hold it with one hand, but yeah, that's going to work really well. So I'm going to clamp this guy in place. I'm going to put a couple of small welds on this, and then the next thing we have to do before we can put the cab corner on is put this back door back on. You can't weld these things solid without fitting the doors, especially the back door, because we're going to need to make sure our line is just right here with the cab corner. So very important step, don't skip it. Always fit the doors. It'll come back to bite you. I've always found if you put these panels right where they're supposed to be, they fit well, but you still can't take that chance of having your gap off, especially here. So I'm going to clamp that, tack it, and I'll bring you guys back in a bit, maybe when we get the door on. Well, so I got the door on and started fitting everything up. Everything is good, nice. I'm happy with the way everything fits. But I went to start fitting my cab corner. I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning that I had cab corners in stock for this job. They were the wrong ones. So, turns out I swore I had a pair of Mega cab corners sitting there, but they were for a two-door regular cab pickup, so they are bigger, but they're not this big. So that kind of sets me back a little bit. I mean, nothing terrible, but it is, and pretty much end of the day, Wednesday now, so they won't ship till tomorrow, so I'll have them Friday. But that's okay, because I can finish welding up this side, and then I'll spin the truck around, I'll get the rockers done on that side, and then by the time the cab corners get here Friday, I'll be ready for them, and that's all I'll have to do. So, I'm just going to go ahead and finish up some welding, and then I guess I'll bring you guys back, probably not until I get cab corners, so we'll see you guys Friday. So it's the next day, I've got the truck turned around, start on the other side. So here's where we're at with the driver's side. I always strip that black E-coat, electrical primer off of these things. I just like starting fresh with good epoxy primer down the bottom. So yeah, not much to see here. Obviously still no cab corner, but I'll have those tomorrow, so not a big deal. I just thought I would kind of show you guys what we have on the other side here. So this fellow was telling me he had a guy, I can't remember the story, but he helped him out and did some rust repair on this side for him. So you can see here's that extension piece, like I put it on the other side, but they've just kind of put it right over top. And then the cab corner is I mean, it's not terrible. You know, that's not the best way to do them, but I mean, no judgment here. You know, that got them by. You know, so that, yeah, looks like they just kind of plug welded it right on top of the old metal and kind of overlapped there. So, yeah. Hey man, it works. You know. But we're gonna cut all that out and I'm gonna get started on this side. So just about to start pulling the doors and fender off, and I'm gonna get this side tackled. So I'll see you guys back here when I have cab corners. Well, hello everybody. I am back. It's actually Monday morning again. So where we left off on this side of the truck, I was waiting on cab corners. So part numbers I gave you at the beginning of the video were wrong because I had the wrong cab corners. RRP 3950 for this mega cab corner. Driver's side should have been an RRP 3949. So I have already actually finished the other side. It is it's all welded up and body worked. So that side is basically ready for primer. I just figured I'd hold off filming until we came back to this side because it's just what we were filming on. I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but so we're gonna start fitting up this cab corner. So one thing I always mention to you guys on these parts, just because you get that much cab corner, you don't have to use that much. These are designed to use what you need. I mean, if you need to go up to the top, then you go up to the top. I like to keep these below this body line when possible. Now, the other side, now I showed you that somebody had put on a cab corner and this back rocker piece on that side. So I had to cut all that out, obviously, to do a little nicer job. It was okay, it did what they needed. But unfortunately, on the other side, what the fella had done was put the new cab corner on and he welded right to the top. So that, it just made it quite a bit more work for me to put a new cab corner on because it had already been spliced in there and then I had to do it again. So it took some creative welding and adding some metal up there. So, I mean, not the end of the world, but it just made it a little bit of a pain in the butt. So this side, to start with, start fitting her up. You're obviously putting it right about there. Our main concern is always this gap. See, I'm in a little bit there, so it's just kind of sitting there. There we go. So anyway, we're going to be round about there. So what I'm going to do with this guy, I am going to trim the top of this off just below this line. So you see I've got about 3/4 of an inch down there. I'm going to clean off this bed liner shit that somebody's put on there. And I've got still some foam that I need to clean out of there. So I'm going to get this cleaned up, get this trimmed up, and then I'll kind of bring you guys back to show you the fitting part. So I've got my cab corner loosely in place here, guys. So I've just cleaned off all the crap that was on here, and I've started trimming the cab corner. I have it clamped. Now basically what I'm going to do from here is just use the zip cut, and I'm going to cut along this line. I'm going to cut just a little more metal off the truck part itself until I have got this nice butt match the way I like to do them, without overlapping the metal. So if you're new at this, you can overlap it a little bit. You know, don't be afraid to leave a 1/2 inch. It makes welding much easier. If you're not used to welding sheet metal, it can be very tricky, of course. So now you can see kind of the way I've cut on an angle. So if you think about that, if you cut straight through, you're gonna have that bit of a gap, but if you cut on an angle, now you've got kind of two angled pieces of metal that are gonna fit together a little nicer. I know that's not the best diagram, but might kind of give you an idea. And then, so you can see how now I can just kind of push this into place, and I've got that perfect butt. So I'll just kind of work my way around, tack, 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 and get this all welded up. So I'm gonna pull this back off to get those little scraps of metal from the inside that I just trimmed off. But yeah, we're pretty much ready to weld this one on. So there we are, so tacked in place. Our gap is good here. Now you can see we are in a little bit there. So see if I just pull that bottom of the cap corner out just a hair, it evens it up. So that's where this inner structure, I'm going to actually tap that out just a hair, just to bring that out just a little bit so that we get that good gap there. So straightforward from there. I'm just going to go ahead and finish welding this all up, and then I'll bring you guys back in a bit. Well, I've got her masked up in the booth here for some primer. So as you can see, just some basic masking. So I'm going to give all of this a good coat of epoxy primer for the bare metal, and I'll follow that up with a couple of coats of high build urethane primer, and then we will sand it tomorrow. So yeah, a little better look at the bodywork. As you can see, it's not much. Yeah, just smoothed off with some filler where we've spliced in the panels. So, and then you can see where I stayed down about here on this cab corner rather than, like I showed you before, rather than going up, which it's less work doing it that way. I've always found, especially welding, if you're welding right by that body line, you've got more strength there, as opposed to welding here through a flat panel. It's doable, obviously, but the heat can warp this pretty easy, but you've got a little more strength there, so you can weld it a little quicker for what that's worth. So I'm gonna go mix up some epoxy and start spraying this thing. Well, good morning, everyone. It is a brand new day again. So we got primer on our rockers and cab corners yesterday. So I'm undecided on this. I might prep everything and paint everything, because we're not painting the doors. So this could all be just painted complete with the doors off. The one thing about this truck, now when I originally looked at it, I thought it was just black because the paint's so dead and dull, but it does have red pearl in it, which, yeah, complicates things a little bit, but I don't think it'll be a big deal. I'll have to kind of match up the paint. But before we get to this, I think what I'm going to do this morning is take our doors outside. Now, we're not painting the doors, but I am painting the bottom inside of the doors. So yeah, you can see they have some rust on the inside. Most of them are actually pretty good. It actually is a really good truck. It's in good shape. But yeah, we're painting in there, so I want to get these doors outside and sandblast those bottoms before it gets hot out. It's early now, so it's still cool out. It's supposed to be 36 today, so that's like 100 Fahrenheit. So not whether you want to have a sandblasting hood on and be out in the sun. So I'm going to start moving those outside kind of one at a time, set them up, get the bottoms blasted, and then we'll move back to the cab, and maybe if all works out this afternoon, I can paint the inside of the doors and the door gems at the same time, or like I said, I might paint it complete. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll check in with you guys in a bit. Well guys, I sort of forgot you were here. So I have moved ahead a bit on the doors here. So doors I had outside, I sandblasted the bottom of all 4. I have got them obviously masked up and some epoxy primer on them, a little bit of seam sealer in a couple of spots. So I'm just getting ready to put some paint on these. Rear doors are up on stands. Those are the front doors down on the floor. No, that's not some new technique. I just can't lift those damn things onto stands anymore. These, the GM doors, Ford doors, I can. These Dodge doors, the front doors are so damn heavy. I'm surprised they don't wear out more door pins because they weigh a ton. But that works. I'll paint them down on the floor like that. I've got a bunch of cardboard and blankets and stuff under them, so it's not to damage the outside. And then our door gems. I was on the fence about painting everything, and then painting the front fenders and putting them on. But I decided I'm just going to paint the inners. And then in the morning I can get this out of here. I can get the fenders in, get the inners on the fenders painted. And then it'll just be a matter of getting fenders on the truck, prepping the outside, and prepping the outside of these cab corners. And then I can get the doors and everything on. And then I can do that paint work. Hopefully tomorrow. Yeah. Well, tomorrow's Wednesday. Probably do it Thursday. But anyway, I'm just going to put some paint on these inners. Excuse me. I won't keep the camera going for that. I've just been kind of hustling today. Man, it is hot. So I'm just going to carry on. I think I'll probably bring you guys back tomorrow when I've got this stuff painted up, and we'll carry on from there. there's our driver's fender put on, doors on. As you saw, I ran the buffer over these doors. It's going to give me a better idea what I'm working with when I'm matching a color. So now with that shine brought back, well, so you can see the difference there versus that. So now you can put the light there, if you can really see how much red is in that. So there's a ton of red pearl. I think I even said earlier I felt like I put too much red pearl in when I did the inside steps, but looking at it now, actually I got it perfect. So I will just recreate what I did in here. I know you can't really tell on the camera, or you probably can't, but yeah. And unfortunately, this paint is in really bad shape. It's just chipped to death. But yeah, we'll buff it up, and I'll go around and I'll touch up some of the big red spots that are showing through before it leaves, try and make it look a little better. I know the customer wants to get the whole truck done eventually, but you know, as we all know, this stuff takes money, so a little bit at a time sometimes is the way to do them. So I'm going to slap the other fender on the other side. I'm just going to finish up prepping. So I'll just got to sand the fenders, sand a little bit on the cab corners, and then this thing can go into the booth where it's pretty damn hot. I don't know if I'll get it painted today. I might wait until morning when it's cooler, but we'll see how it goes here this afternoon. Well, good morning everyone. It is the next day. As you can see, I've got the Dodge truck masked up in the booth. So we've got our fenders and of course our cab corners to paint. So I am all washed down and tacked off and ready to spray. So I'm just going to get after it.
Well, let's have a look and see how our red pearl looks. I don't know how things show on the camera, but our old paint is a little duller, but I believe I've matched up our pearl very nicely. That probably is hard to tell looking through there at that, but yeah, so that's actually 3 coats of base and 3 coats of clear on there. So we're going to let that set up for a couple hours, and then we'll come back and unmask it and see what we have.
So she's out of the booth here, guys. I just thought I'd give you a quick look at the color outside before I continue putting her together. So hopefully that shows up a little better. Now obviously I need to polish that old paint up a little better, but the pearl and the color is actually bang on, so I'm super happy with that. Of course, I never know how that's going to look on camera, but yeah, out here it looks really, really good. So no issues with that at all. I will shine her up a little more and it'll look good. So I'm going to just continue putting this thing together. Now, before anyone comments that I didn't put any rot guard on the bottom, customer does want to have this truck done completely at some point. He was just getting all the bad rust stuff out of the way, and he wants that shit off the bottom. So that's why I didn't put more on to match it, because eventually this will get done and that'll all be stripped off and we'll make this a nice truck again. So I'm going to get it inside, put it together, and then we'll have another look at it before she goes home to the customer. Well, here she is, guys. Another one done, ready for the customer. So, of course, we did new front fenders, rocker panels, cab corners, and of course, cleaned up all 4 doors, all the rust that was inside. So now a job like this one, you know, the customer's not getting back a completely different truck, like if it was a complete paint job, a complete redo. You know, it basically looks the same as it did when he dropped it off, only a little shinier. I did manage to put a little shine back in it with the buffer. But you know, with doing it this way, I mean, he does still want to get this truck painted complete. I mean, the truck still needs a paint job, but at least now he's got a nice rust-free cab. All of the major stuff is out of the way. So, yeah, all the stuff that involves welding and painting, you know, the box does still need attention. This, you know, to do this right, this will need box sides. The biggest problem with these Dodges, where, of course, they rust out over the wheel wells like everything else. But now you see the staining here. There's a brace on the inside of these that holds dirt. So by the time you see this, this is rusting through from the inside. There's no question about it. They all do it. So these Dodge boxes are usually not worth patching. To put wheel arches in this, you know, then you've got the panel down there that needs to be replaced, and these also will rust out back here. So the best way for these, unfortunately, is full bed sides, or if you can find a good box. Around here, I know guys will say, oh, I found a mint box. You might find one that's not rusty, but it might be a month away from bursting through from the inside. You just don't know. But if you can get clean southern parts, I mean, that's the way to go with that. But here, where we are in British Columbia, is not always an option. So anyway, guys, I hope maybe this is helpful. If you want to do this job, rockers and cab corners on a mega cab. If nothing else, it gives you an idea what is involved if you're going to have someone else do it for you. So, as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you come back and check out the next one. We'll see you then.